everyone, I'm Ashy. I decided I wanted to make a gallery wall in my kids' playroom that is just complete chaos. So I wanted to create a series of monochromatic, serene paintings to just help the vibe a bit. I didn't have the color that I wanted in my palette, so I just mixed up sap green, cobalt blue, and a touch of Payne's gray to make the green that I wanted. So for this first painting, I'm just getting my feet wet with something really simple. So I just start by wetting up the whole background and brushing in some very dilute mix. Then I put a slightly less dilute streak for the land. I didn't like the first spot, so I blended that out to make it look like a cloud. The camera did cut out, but I just painted a straight line for the tree trunk from the land and darkened the land a bit. From there, I added the line down for the tree reflection and did some dry brushing to get the impression of branches. I do the same thing up for the tree, but in the water part, the reflection part, the page is wet. So even though I'm kind of dry brushing it on there, it still blends out and has a more like fuzzy out of focus appearance. And on the tree trunk when I do it, or on the tree itself when I do it, the page is dry. And so it stays sharper and keeps those kind of defined edges. So basically I just keep kind of building up the layers of these branches. So I'm just purposefully like splitting the bristles of my brush so that each brush stroke gets a bunch of little like natural looking branches without having to paint each individual branch. But then I do take a small detail brush, just a little round brush, and go in and define some specific kind of branches to make it look a little bit, I don't know, a little bit more gnarly, I guess, just to make it look like it's a winter tree that's lost all its leaves. And the key here is really just to try to make it not look super symmetrical, because for the most part, trees aren't very symmetrical. They're kind of random. So try to keep the brush strokes as random as I can here, just to make it look as natural as I can. I add just a little bit of the details into the reflection as well, but after I add those brush strokes, I take my wash brush and just gently add some water to it. I don't scrub or anything. I just go over it super gently a couple times to let those bleed back out. I use just a little bit of dry brushing to kind of pull some grasses up out of the bank, and then I use a clean damp brush to lift out some highlights in the water. So the water area is still a little bit damp, so it lifts pretty well just to pull some highlights, and again that reinforces that that's a reflection, having some highlights there. I then use a small round brush to add a couple little swans to the side. These are super simple, just basically like a little oval shape with a little flick for the tail, and then like an S curve shape for the head and neck. So really simple here. And then I just add a very subtle reflection underneath them, basically just kind of rinsing my brush and then using the color from the swan to kind of pull that out for the reflection. I also add a few birds in the sky, and these birds are basically just V's and upside down V shapes, and I try to keep them, the ones that are lower on the page, a little bit lighter value, so kind of faded out, and then as they're coming forward in the picture, they get typically a little bit higher on the page, darker value, and a little bit larger. And then I just kind of darken that initial cloud shape that I had in the background because I felt like it needed just a little bit extra in the sky. After that, I add another layer of color to like the land, the tree trunk, and the reflected trunk, just to increase the contrast a little bit. It was just looking a little bit too washed out, and there wasn't any strong contrast in it. So by adding that extra layer, it increases the contrast just a little bit and makes it look a little bit more kind of visually pleasing. After that, I just kind of fiddle a little bit with the reflection, but that's really about it. So this is just a really nice, simple watercolor painting to start off this series. So make sure to subscribe to get notified about the rest of the monochromatic series paintings. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something. Have an awesome day.